Hi, thanks for joining me tonight. I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. And I come to you every Wednesday night with a live stamping class. Tonight we're going to make 3 cards. And hang on, I'm just checking to make sure I'm here. All right, and then I'll put the camera down in a second and we can get started. Okay. And there I am. Okay. It's just, like I said, it's always good just to make sure that I'm really here. All right. Hang on for just a second while I turn the camera around and try not to make anybody seasick. Okay. Whoops. Hang on. Gotta flip it around. There we go. And I'll bring it a little bit more this way. And we should be good. Okay. So, here is my information for those of you who might be new, whether you're watching live or on the replay. My business name is 11 Lakes Stamper. The name of this group is 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives. I'm also 11 Lakes Stamper on YouTube. And you can shop with me at www.rcolasino.stampinup.net and reach me through email at 11lakestamper@gmail.com. All right. We have, what is today? Today's the 29th, right? So we have 2 more days before the end of this month, and that is when the joining special ends. So if you've ever considered being a demonstrator, and when I say demonstrator, that does not necessarily need to mean that you do what I do. It does not necessarily mean that you even sell things to people, maybe some friends or family, but maybe not. Because when you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you purchase items for your own use, you actually earn a commission on those items. That happens after you become a demonstrator. So the offer that they have right now is that you have 2 options, and I don't remember them ever doing that before. So typically it's something like $125 or even $150 worth of product for $99. But this time it's $125 worth of products for $35 and $189 worth of product for $99. You also get free shipping on that order. You don't get free shipping as a demonstrator later on. Demonstrators do not get free shipping, but you get free shipping on this initial order. And they throw in some extra goodies as well. You almost always get a paper pumpkin kit and some other things that you can use or choose not to use. All right, so it's a pretty darn good deal. I'd love to have you on my team. And like I said, you do not necessarily have to do anything. There is a $300 a quarter limit or quota that you have to meet. And all that happens is the day you become a demonstrator, you've paid this kit, this dollar amount, you've got $189 or $125 worth of stuff that you now can use. You don't have to give it back. It's yours forever. All right. And then they assign you a demonstrator number so you can log into the website as a demonstrator. And at that point, you can start shopping for things that you want at a 20% discount. And if you don't reach your $300, absolutely nothing happens. You still get to keep everything you bought. And all that happens is they give you they send you an email letting you know that you haven't made your minimum. And if you don't respond to that or don't do anything about it, they just drop you. They just say, okay, you're not a demonstrator anymore. There's no penalty. There's no being harassed by me, by Stampin' Up! Or anyone else, I promise. And then if you want to turn around in a few months or whatever and do it again, you can absolutely do that. I have one person on my team, I believe. This is her 3rd time joining up. So it's entirely up to you. All right, so today we are looking at the More Than Autumn bundle. And I brought this out. It's a screenshot. It cut off some of it, but I brought this out because this is on the last chance list. And I checked again last night, and it is still there. So that means that when this is gone, it's gone. It will be considered retired as soon as it's no longer on the last chance list. It won't be available anymore. So it is a stamp set and a set of dies if you buy the bundle. All right, and the bundle price is $47.50. You could get just the stamp set, but then if you wanted to cut some of these things out, you would have to fussy cut them out. Some of them are pretty small, as you will see. Fussy cutting doesn't intimidate me, but not everybody does care for it. So I wanted to put that out there. The item number, hang on, that's just really hard to see, isn't it? The item number is 164076. I think that's easier to see. I probably could have made it even bigger, couldn't I? All right, but I think you can see that better than the thing underneath it. All right, 164076. Okay, so the stamp set has a lot. All right, and the reason I said that it's definitely not just for autumn, it doesn't even have the word Christmas here. It has the word season, and then you can do some things, as you will see us doing in one of the cards I'm making tonight, hot cocoa season. But then you could just get out another set and do a happy Christmas or a Merry Christmas or, season's greetings, whatever you prefer. But then it has the dies. And what's cool about the dies is that, there's a die that cuts out the cup. There's a die that cuts out the pie. There's a die that cuts out the donut. There are even dies that cut out the little apple, the little heart, the little, the little gingerbread man, and those are small. And then the candy cane, and then there's a straw and something else. One of them, this is the straw, I believe, and this is the cinnamon stick. All right, and then what else? There's a die that cuts out the pile of whipped cream there. And then there are dies that cut out words, and I've used some of those tonight so you can see what those look like as well. So it's a pretty well-rounded set. You can use it for almost anything, and I hope to show that to you. So, oh my gosh, look at this. Do you see that little orange dot in there? That is the dot on an I for something I cut out, and I didn't know where the dot went. So now I'll know where to go for it if I really want to use it. All right, we have a guest appearance tonight from Simply Said, because one of the cards I'm making is a birthday card, so I'm going to be using, not that one, this one, Happy Birthday. We also have a guest appearance from the Timeless Plaid Designer Series paper 6x6, and that is current in the 2025-2026 catalog. All right, so we're going to be using all of those things today. Let's start out with, I guess we'll just start with the one that's on top. So card number 1. And I think I have everything together that we need. So I have a crumb cake card base. And I have the streaked dots because I thought those would go nicely with that. And then I wanted to show you that earlier today I just stamped a bunch of the coffee cups in the Memento black ink. All right, because I needed to use quite a few of them and I figured they wouldn't go to waste. I also stamped out a boatload of donuts, because one of the cards that we're making uses quite a few donuts. This card, I would like to give credit to retired Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Carol Buckaloo. And interestingly, I never forget her name, because many years ago, like in 1980 something, maybe 81, 82, I had a student with that same last name, and I always wondered if they were related. But the last time I went to look her up, I discovered that she was no longer a demonstrator. So she made a card really almost identical to this, and the only thing about it that's different on hers is that she used a die set to cut these out that's now retired, like she is, and she didn't have this paper to use, so she used something else, which I'm sure is now retired. All right, so this card is really going to be all about pumpkin, but I just wanted to show you that you could make pumpkin pie. All right, and I'm not the greatest artist in the world. Hey, Nancy, how are you? But I did my version of an apple pie, so that's sort of like the crisscross top, and then those are the sliced apples. It's certainly not perfect. It's not Rembrandt, but I just wanted you to see that you could do that. All right, and then I just had a blank one here in case I needed it, but I don't think I will. All right, so, and then there is this piece of Designer Series paper. I need 2, one for the liner, one for inside. And the Designer Series paper, I'm trying to remember if I've got this right. Yeah, the Designer Series paper doesn't go all the way up, but I think I decided not to cut it at first because I wanted to make sure that this stuff, that I had room for this stuff there. So we're going to put, and this was cut out by the dies, nothing's better than, and then the word pumpkin. And then what she had done is she had taken some of these little pumpkin cutouts, and again, these I could cut out with scissors. I could fussy cut them and be perfectly happy. This, I don't know, you'd have to be a genius to cut that out with scissors. I don't think it's possible. Just between you and me, I don't think it's possible. All right, and then she used these leaf dies, and that will go on the bottom. So basically I just wanted to make sure that I had room for all of this stuff on the top. And I think, oh actually, well, I guess it doesn't really matter if I remember where everything goes completely. So I'm just going to dump that off for a second. I'm going to flip this over. Yep, okay. It's scary how long I had to think about that. I'm going to flip that over, and then I'm going to cut this off here. I just didn't want to cut it ahead of time and find out that I'd left myself way too much room or not enough room. All right, so we'll give that a cut. This paper, by the way, is really great. It was part of a set that was essentially an Easter set in the spring catalog last year, but the plaid and gingham can be used for anything, and the colors are kind of earthy, and then some of them are bluish and whatnot, but I wouldn't call them Eastery. They're not really pastel type colors, in my opinion. All right, so this is going to get glued onto here. Let's make sure that's right. Okay. So it looks like fall is definitely here, and maybe even some winter. We've had some at freezing or slightly below temperatures in the area where I live. We had a hard frost the other morning, and I did have to scrape some ice off my windshield, which wouldn't have happened except that I had to get up and moving early. If I, didn't have to go someplace till 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, it would have been gone by then, I'm sure. All right. Well, normally that little trick works, but I didn't move fast enough. There. Oh, come on. Okay. Alrighty, so now when I put on things that are this, and once again, I forgot to use the adhesive sheaths. You're probably like wondering what these things even are that I keep talking about. Oh, they're just wonderful is what they are, but I always forget that I have them. I need to start making myself notes about what I could use when I start designing a card. And of course I didn't design this one, I copied this one. So I didn't really have to take any notes at all. Basically, just a few notes about where things were positioned. But this works as long as you've got the fine tip bottles. With the regular bottle, with the glue not transferred into these, that might be a little bit more difficult. Now we do have a fine tip glue, a glue in a fine tip glue bottle, but it is a different glue. I have to admit I've never used it. My upline just always said she didn't like it, so I guess that's why I never used it. Usually I try to discover things for myself, but I trusted her judgment, so I just never got any. Okay, so I'm going to put this up in the upper left-hand corner. And if it ends up being, I think it is a little crooked. I think it was designed a little crooked, to be honest with you. I'm not just saying that. I think it really was. All right, nothing's better than, and then let's see. Let's get a leaf in that corner just so I know where to position the next word. Now this die actually cuts two pieces out. It cuts out a leaf outline and a leaf. And I just put a tiny piece of Scotch tape on the back to hold them together because I wanted the whole thing. Okay, it's close, but that's fine. All right, and then I'll put one of the pumpkins up here. In the upper right-hand corner. Well, let's not put it too far in the corner because I'm going to use some of those embellishments too, so I might put that in the corner. All right, and then I'm going to grab my tweezers again. And we'll just put little dots, but I found on the last one that by the time I got to the end, the dots on this side had already started to dry because they were so small. But you don't want to put too much on because you don't want it to come oozing out. That won't be pretty, and it'll be sticky because this glue is sticky. Okay, nothing's better than, oh, come on, I got it. Let go of my, there you go. Okay. All right. And then sometimes I just take a piece of paper and put it over all that and just give it a good rub to make sure it's really connecting. Okay. So that's cute. Okay. So now we've got the cup. All right, I'm going to set this aside for just a second because I wanted to show you something. So you'll see in the other card that I made using the cups that what I've done is I took the stamp, the whole stamp, and I stamped on, this is just like a piece of, I think it's like the Thoughtful Journey DSP, but it had like a light orange section in it. And I started to cut it, but then I kind of stopped myself because what I wanted you to see is that I am just cutting that middle section, that's the band on the cup, the thing that's supposed to keep you from burning your fingers, I think. All right. I just cut that out so that that will fit right on here, but be a slightly different color. I'd love to say that I thought of that all on myself, but a number of years ago, one of the classes that I took when I was just a customer, was about paper piecing and cutting things out and using them to add to other things that you'd already stamped. And I was like, wow, that's a really smart idea. So no, I didn't come up with it on my own. Maybe given enough time I might have, but I wouldn't count on it. All right, so then I'm going to take another one of these pumpkins. A little hard to handle because they are tiny, and I'm going to put it right there. And now this is going to get, oh, hang on. We've got to attach this to this. So this is the whipped cream. We're just going to make a thin bead of glue on the top of the cup and attach the whipped cream to that. And then just to be on the safe side, I like putting just a little piece of tape on the back to hold it in place, just in case. All right, and what I thought might be kind of fun to do with this, there are sprinkles. There's a stamp that has sprinkles on it, and you could do that. I was thinking maybe a little Wink of Stella, and I'm looking. I think, trying to remember if this is one that's an original Wink of Stella. I have to find a way to mark them because I have some that are empty that I've just started using for other things. Kind of experimenting, putting some color in them maybe. I don't know. Oh, I am seeing something, but it's very slight, which means that it's pretty dried out. So maybe I will just get that sprinkle stamp, which I happen to have right here. And color-wise, I almost feel like I want early espresso, like chocolate sprinkles. Okay. So my early espresso pad, I think I've shared with you, just for your information, that at a class, somebody opened this up and then somehow, I don't even know really what happened, but somehow bent it back, and so it cracked. Down on the bottom here, it cracked. And so you can see right into the pad, there's like air, like an airflow there. So that's why I keep this particular pad inside a plastic bag. I'm just not, like I said, I can't quite figure out what they did. I wish I could figure it out because then I could kind of explain it to people so that maybe it wouldn't happen again, but what can you do? So we're just... There we go. And I don't know, just to kind of keep it even, I'd like to put a couple over there maybe. You know, I got it on the cup though, didn't I? I did. I got sprinkles on the cup. Well, they could be falling off, right? They could be falling off and landing on the cup. I can go with that theory. All right, so that's kind of cute. So then this cup is going to go on this piece of paper, which is not going to have anything pretty. Looks like that's wonky. Let's see if it really is or not. I don't know. And I may have to trim this. So I'll glue it on and I may have to trim it. So let's get that on there. You can see I used our blends marker, they're alcohol markers, and they do soak through the paper, which is not really a problem if you're gluing it down to something, but you want to be careful not to use it right on a card front because it will soak onto the inside, and you might have to do something like add a little liner to it or something. All right. I think that's crooked somehow. Yep, it was a little. I'm one of those people who goes into other people's houses and straightens their pictures, just so you know. Okay, so now we should have one pumpkin left. Uh-oh. Oh no, we don't. It's there. Never mind. Am I right about that? Yeah, I think so. All right, so that's going to go there. Then the pie is going to go on this one. And we might have to give that a little trim as well. We're going to want to make sure that it fits. In fact, this one might have to get trimmed a tad more. Sometimes I grab scraps to do things like this, and I don't realize that I may have cut the scraps with with scissors rather than using the cutter. So they're not always straight, and I sometimes assume that they are, which is not a good plan. All right, and then the donut is going to go on this square piece, which will definitely be too big, but that's okay. That's what trimmers are for. And there's nothing worse than trying to cut something ahead of time and then realizing that you've made it too small. Because if it's too small, there's not a darn thing you can do. If it's too big, you can fix it. All right. That looks crooked too. I don't know. Let's see. Yep, I think it is just a tiny bit. The other thing I like about this small cutter is that you can cut like a sliver with it. It's a little bit harder to do that with the type of trimmer we have, the sliding blade. Okay. Let's see. And I think, I don't know, I could round the corners. That won't really make it that much smaller, but it might be kind of an interesting look. I didn't really think about that. What do you think about rounding the corners? Well, we can try it. And if we don't like it, we don't like it, right? This is a little corner rounder that Stampin' Up! Used to sell. Since then, they've sold a lot of different things. They've sold, I think I had one out here actually. They've sold these triple punches. So this one makes like a ribbon notch and a corner not a rounder, but like to chop off the corner, and another corner design, but they had one that was a corner rounder too. This one is very old. It's got my uplines initial on it because I bought it from her when she retired and she had a sale. So I have a lot of things that have other people's initials on it, which always makes me nervous because I don't want people to think I stole stuff from somebody. But when you're teaching classes, and some people bring their own stuff too, it's a good idea to have your name or at least your initials on something so stuff doesn't mistakenly end up in the wrong bag at the end of the day. It happens. Anyway, this little corner rounder is quite old, and so it's not cutting as well as it probably used to. So I'm just having to do a tiny bit of trimming here. Sometimes a piece of wax paper, or doing a few sheets of aluminum foil and then a piece of wax paper will get it, working really well again, and you might have to just do that every so often. But I haven't had to do that on anything until it got to be years old, and it wasn't, when it was something that I was using very frequently. All right, now the only problem is I put that kind of close to that edge. Yeah, I kind of like that. In fact, one of the cards I made last week, I'm pretty sure I rounded the corners on the card front because I suddenly thought, gosh, I haven't done that in ages, and I used to do that a lot. All right, so let's see now. Like I said, it's not going to make it smaller, but I don't know if it really matters which goes where. I did have that other leaf, though, and now at this point I'm not sure, although I could put it there, just kind of overlapping. Let's put these down and then see what that looks like, and then we'll decide if that seems like a good idea or not. My daughter decided to go down to Florida this week, and unfortunately, while they're not having hurricanes, but gosh, poor Jamaica and now Cuba just getting slammed, she is getting kind of like the backlash from that, and especially when it hits Cuba, because Cuba's really not that far off of the coast of Miami. She's not in Miami, but she's not far from Miami either, so it may not be the sunniest week to have chosen to take a vacation in Florida. I suggested that maybe next time she pick a date that's not in the middle of hurricane season. Hurricane season runs from June, I think it is, through November, which isn't any type of a guarantee that you won't get a hurricane in one of those off months. In the off months, they get tornadoes, which I think are even scarier, to be honest with you, because you don't always get the warning. Okay, I'm really liking this. I love all the layers and the little doodads. I'm liking this a lot. So thank you, Carol Buckaloo. I should try to find her on Facebook and find. It's just such an unusual name. I've never known anybody with that name in my entire life other than that one student. So when I saw her name, I just thought, it's got to be a relation. But she's not from this area, so who knows? Who knows? All right, so there we go. Now I'm almost forgetting about the next step, which is to put this on the card base. So I think I said we've got a crumb cake card base. No matter what you do, even if you don't like to use a lot of glue, which I don't, make sure you get your corners, because it's just not fun when the corners of a card start popping up. With all those little pieces on it, I don't want to go rubbing it with my hand and maybe catch one of those pieces and have it come up on me. So it's better to rub from the other side. And now I've got this, and it sort of seems like I should put something in there. I don't think I have an extra donut cut out, though. I have tons and tons of extra coffee cups. I could put a coffee cup in there, but I can't exactly duplicate that. Well, we could do that. Now, again, I have the dies to do this, but just, this is a larger thing, so you'll see that I don't have a problem with the fussy cutting. It doesn't bother me. I've gotten used to it. You just have to remember that you really don't move the scissors. You move the paper and you keep closing the scissors, and you don't really move the scissors again until you have to open them again. And then you start cutting down, and as you're cutting down, you move, well, that's a straight line, so there's no moving, but as you're cutting down, you move the paper. And that just seemed so simple to me when it was taught to me. And again, I found myself wondering, how did I never know that? And why the heck didn't my kindergarten teacher know that? It probably would have made the lives of kindergartners all over so much happier. I'm not even sure that our occupational therapists knew that when they were working with a lot of my students on cutting. Hey, Amy, how are you tonight? Never too late to join. You can always catch the replay if you're interested. All right, so let's not forget that. Oh, geez, I did, though. I already did. You know, this makes me crazy when I put something out so that I don't forget it, and I forget it. So there's a bow, but I wanted to wrap some of this, like right there, around that. Not around, you know, the whole thing, just around this layer that I just glued down. Ugh. I don't know what I can do other than write myself big notes, and even then I'd probably not see them. But I could use the bow. I can just use the bow and save that for another day. Yeah, I'm going to like that right there. Okay, fine. Oh, good grief. Good grief, good grief. All right, so I think actually I'll just go ahead and glue this down and then color it, which might not be the smartest thing I've ever done, but oh, you know what? Hang on. We have this, right? And it's just the right size. Let's take a strip of that. See, I think of things that I never intended to do, and then I don't remember the things that I did intend to do. And I think I might even have enough left of that elsewhere to use on the envelope. So I keep putting in plugs here, but I am doing a craft show at the Yorkshire Inn on Route 96 in Phelps. It's kind of just outside of town of Phelps, or maybe a little bit more than just. I can't remember exactly where it is. It's called the Yorkshire Inn. It's a bed and breakfast mainly. I don't think they actually are a restaurant, but the owner is a chef. So I'm guessing the food is good, should you ever want to stay there. And I'm doing a craft show there with my friend Dawn, friend and teammate Dawn. There we go. So now we've got a place to put the coffee cup, like it's on a table, so it's not floating in space. And I think for this one, I used a combination of pumpkin pie and the peach pie, and I did that because I thought the dark pumpkin pie was just darker than I wanted it to be. So I think I used light pumpkin pie and then light peach pie, or maybe the other way around. I don't know. But there's nothing that says that the inside really has to perfectly match the outside. Like maybe I won't put the cream on this, although I could have stamped it on before I glued that down. Okay. I don't know if that would be white or if that would be orange too. Not sure. So did I say the date of that show? November 22nd. It's a Saturday. It's a nice location because it's very close to the thruway. So for people who, you know, might be coming from a little bit further away, it's not a bad drive because you just hop off the exit and it's kind of right there. All right. And then, oh, you know what I could do? Hang on. What if I take the little pumpkin stamp? I was using Timid Tiger ink too. So I'm doing quite a mishmash of colors here. Let's go back to this for a second and let's take the light peach pie. Funny thing is, I think I might have the Timid Tiger markers. I bought one whole set of markers of in colors, but I can't remember if it's these in colors or the other ones. I wish I knew, but I honestly don't. Yeah, because there's really not much of a difference there. And sometimes if there are similar colors, they just plain don't make a blend in that color because there are other things that you could use. Especially with the in colors because they're only around for 2 years. Yeah, I don't really see much of a difference there at all. But I don't think... Well, the Timid Tiger is darker than the Peach Pie, but lighter than Pumpkin Pie. So let's just do that. Yeah, that's visible. That's good. Okay, so I think I'll leave it like that for now. Maybe I'll add the whipped cream later, but I don't have any die cut yet. All right, so now this can go on the inside. Come on. Oh, I gotta put you on too. I think some of the elements in this stamp set would be really cute in some scrapbook layouts as well. And Stampin' Up! Is starting to make some larger scale stamp sets that may match other stamp sets that we have in the catalog, but they're making them like a larger scale, what am I trying to say, larger words, so that they take up more space, you know what I'm saying? That you could fit them on a scrapbook page, but you might not want to put them on a card because they'd kind of take up the whole card. And so that's kind of nice, and I like bold sentiments anyway, so I'm buying those and I'm using them on my cards as well. Like, you know, Amy will tell you, I've been working on the same scrapbook layouts for years. I just don't know. I don't have the patience for it. But I'm trying. I really am. I'm trying. So this is a double bow. Just trying to get the strings. It's all curly because it was near the end of the spool of ribbon, or what's it called? Linen thread. It was near the end of the spool, so it gets real windy. Okay, there we go. That does help. I like that. Okay, and then these. Let's not forget these. These are called streaked dots. All right, and I do have the item number there. They're $9, and they come in, it looks to me like just 2 sizes, kind of large and medium. I don't see anything I would call small. And it's nice because they're a slightly different color than anything else on here. They look like they're sort of like early espresso, but with other streaks of color in them. So maybe a little pecan pie. I'm not sure. I know they say you're always supposed to use things in 3s. So I'll try to think of where to put another one. I suppose it doesn't matter if it's hidden a little bit by the bow. Okay, there we go. So that is card number 1, and that was the one I thought was going to be the quick card. Sorry. All right, and then this is card number 2. Card number 2 has a pecan pie base. Okay, we are going to, right now, maybe not right now. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe why not? We're going to put this ribbon around here, because if we don't, I'm just going to forget it. So this is where instead of wrapping it all the way around, I don't know, I think I do want it about in the middle. I usually put it on with a piece of tape. If you put glue on ribbon, it tends to soak through, and it's kind of pretty obvious that you put glue on it, and it's not usually a good look. So I try not to do that unless I'm putting something over it. If I'm putting a sentiment over it, then I figure it doesn't matter. And I might put some glue down. You want to pull this kind of tight, not so tight that you're making the card bent, but not so tight that it's going to look floppy on the other side either. Okay? So we've got that done. Yay! So we have pecan pie for a layer. And then, you know, I do have fingernails. I don't know why I can't do this. There we go. And I also have pumpkin pie as a layer. That's going to go on next. So the card is 5.5 by 4 1/4. This layer is 4 by 5 1/4. And we can go ahead and put that on now that the ribbon's on. I don't need to do anything else, right? Okay. And just remember to get glue in the corners. Oh, it's shifting in all the wrong directions. That's not good. Come on. Good grief. Oh, I'm not going to peel it up. I'm just not. Okay. That's better. And I think I should just leave well enough alone. Okay, and then this layer is 3 3/4 by 4. And this is the inside layer. So I just stamped a bunch of them, like I said, and then I took the light crumb cake and did that around the edges because that's the part of the donut, that's the part that got fried. Okay, and then I just chose a color to use on the card base. So this card, no, this one goes this way, I think. All right, is going to go this way, and this card is going to have just sort of like circles of donuts. And maybe they're not all going to fit. Let me see. So my sentiment for this one, where did my sentiment go? Or did I not stamp the sentiment yet? I really thought I did. Yeah, I did, because I want it to be a birthday card. And then I wanted on the inside to have it's the two stamps together say, this calls for donuts. So it was like happy birthday, but just like, let's celebrate this calls for donuts, if that makes any sense at all. So, trying to figure out, and then I don't want two of the same colors touching each other. So kind of like that is what I was hoping to do. I also have a bow, and this is just what we call a knot bow. It's not really a bow, it's a knot. All right, going that way. And then I want happy birthday on here somewhere. And it's a long sentiment, so I want to be careful. All right, hang on. Oh, I'm not going to like that. Well, I may not end up using all of the donuts. Let's just get the sentiment on and work around it. That's what I'm thinking might work the best. Do I want to use black, or do I want to use Rolly Espresso, or do I want to use pecan pie, or... All right, let's not overthink it. I'm just going to go with black. All right, so this is the Memento black ink, and I took the re-inker and used it to ink the empty pad that you get when you purchase the... Sorry, I couldn't talk and do that at the same time. The empty pad that you get when you purchase the Whisper White stamp pad. They sell you the pad empty, and then they sell you a white re-inker. So I just bought one of those, knowing I could use the white re-inker later, and I inked it up with the Memento Black because I like this type of ink pad, the foam, better than I like the linen ink pads. I feel like I get a much better impression this way, and I like the Memento Black ink, but it just wasn't working for me the way it was. Okay. So now I'm thinking like of a curve. Do I want orange on orange? Probably not, huh? Okay. I'm just sort of thinking of a curve. And see, again, this piece is smaller because I decided to make it a different layer. So I was probably thinking that I had 4 by 5 1/4 room to do it in, and I don't. All right, but that's fine. This will be fine. I don't know what I was going to do for embellishments, if anything. I'm thinking that I want to pop these up. I think that'll give it kind of an interesting look. And I might need to use a combination of large ones and small ones, or maybe just cutting some of the large ones. One demonstrator that I know always cuts the large dimensionals in half, always. She never uses a whole one. And I've never really thought about that. I use the ends a lot. You know, you see me do that, but I never thought about cutting the large ones in half. But I don't know, maybe it's not a bad idea. Because this one, you can see it's just about taking up that whole space, so maybe there's nothing wrong with using a half of one. I don't want it perceived as being cheap, but I can see where it would be a good idea sometimes. All right, and then I can also use these little pieces off the ends, which I like to do, so nothing goes to waste. Okay, and I might take your pick tool. So you just kind of go in and up. You don't stick it in too far, you just go in and then up. Put that one here. I think I was kind of thinking that these would end up where these two would come out like the same. There, I like that better. Okay, that they would come out in the same spot. And maybe I just need to bring it in a little bit more. That might work. Well, since they're cut in half, it's almost just as easy to peel them off with my fingernails, I think. But if you don't have fingernails, the take your pick tool works wonders. And of course, now that I said that, it's not going to work very well. Okay, then when I get to this one, I'm only going to be able to put them on either side because it's going to be straddling the ribbon. Going to set that there. I'm not going to press down on it yet. This can hang over the edge a tiny bit because it's not going to go over the edge of the card base itself. Okay. At this point, I'm going to get a glue dot and put this on just so I can kind of start to get the whole effect. I just take my fingernail and kind of roll it up a little bit into like a little log shape so it's not sticking out from behind the bow. I'll put that right there. Okay, and now I've got two pinks together. I think that wasn't what I was going to do, was it? I think I moved those around. Okay, hang on. We're going to take that one off. And we're going to get another piece. Another small piece, and let's put this one up there, the darker pink. All right, that's still sticky. Okay, there we go. And then this one. Who knew that crafting was full of decisions? It really is, seriously. I don't recommend overthinking it, but you do have to make a lot of decisions. There's no doubt about it. Hi, Mary Kate. How are you? Thanks for stopping in. Okay, there we go. So then that one over there, and then last but not least, this one over here. Okay. I think I had a kind of a different shape envisioned, but that was again with a bigger piece of paper, so I think it works though. Do you know how it is when you get one thing in your mind and then it doesn't match exactly what you had in your head? Okay. All right. So the next thing for this card is, I don't know, what is it? Let's see. I need the liner. That's not the liner. There we go. Good grief. Okay. And then I will, glue goober. I will go over the ribbon with some glue on the back side just to make sure that all of that stays in place, and just kind of put a little around it. Between the tape, and the glue, it should be just fine. You could also use tear-in tape on the front under the ribbon to hold it down if you would like to be a little bit more sure of the ribbon not wiggling around on you. Now, how come sometimes I can put it down and it's just centered perfectly, and other times I have to play with it for 5 minutes? Why is that? Okay, so then on this side, what I wanted to do was use this, where is it? This calls for donuts. So it's like, happy birthday, this calls for donuts, as if that's the celebration, having donuts. Doesn't sound like a bad celebration to me. Sounds like a pretty good party. I'd be okay with that. Now the chances of me getting this straight are really not good. I'm going to move it down a little bit. I know that means you may not be able to see it too well, but I kind of need to get my head over it, and even that doesn't always help. Wow, okay. That's pretty good, but when you have a 2-stamp sentiment, you only have a 50% chance of getting it right or wrong, right? Okay, so this calls for donuts. Yeah, that one's going downhill a little bit, but it's fine. It really is. This calls for donuts. So I thought what might be cute on the inside, but I'll have to clean off my stamp first. And I could have done it here too, but that might have been too much. Sometimes I get an idea, and then when I look at the completed card, it just looks too busy. So what I could do is just take some of these colors that I have here. I've got Timid Tiger, and I've got the Sprinkle stamp, and just stamp some of those around. I want to leave room for a person to write a message. Okay, and then, well, some of those colors I don't have the ink pads out for. Let's see. Well, who cares? I could do a little real red. I just happen to have that out here for the next card. And the next card is a Christmassy card, but not overly Christmassy, if that makes sense. All right, so we'll just have those in the corner, just a little something, something. And then I should be done with all of those stamps. And then we can get this one on the inside. Okay, there you go. So it's a birthday card, but it's about donuts. All right, done with the donuts for now. And then the next card is the one I said was a Christmas card, and I decided to make a slimline card. All right, and the typical slimline cards can come in any size, but what I've been told is the typical size is 3.5 by 8.5. So you're basically just taking an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and cutting it down to 3.5 and 3.5 is 7. Yep, to 7 inches. So you're starting out with a 7 by 8.5 piece of paper. You're folding it or scoring it in half at 3.5. Okay. All right, and I bet I didn't make a liner for this one. I bet I didn't. All right, well, we can get to that. Oh, no, there I did. No, that's the front. All right. These are retired, I'm sorry to say, but I stocked up on them when they were getting retired because I just thought they were too cute to not use anymore. Unfortunately, they're real red, and this paper that I found, which is also old, that's for something else, though, is also retired. So all the Christmas paper that I had for this year was one that carried over that was all blues. And I realized that I didn't have any traditional color Christmas paper, so I had to go into my stash of retired things because I have an order that should be here. It'll probably come tomorrow. That would be my luck, that it'll show up tomorrow. All right, so what we're going to do here, oh, I did make a liner. Look at that. Oh, wait, are they both the same size? They are, okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put this down on top of, let me get that out of the way, it's going to bug me. Are they the same size? Yes, they are. Okay. Jeez. We're going to put this down here as the background, the piece of white, and that is 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. So we're going to put that down there, and then we're going to put this on top of it, just kind of for fun, and then you'll see what we'll do next. So I can glue these down now because there's no ribbon that's going around them. There's nothing I have to remember. Okay, I can just glue them down. Okay. Oh, and you know what I just remembered? The card with the word pumpkin on it that I found the dot for the eye in the dies. So I'll have to dig that out and glue that on later, not now. I really just figured it was lost forever. It was so ridiculously tiny. And that's the problem with some of these dies. So now I've got that down, and I didn't follow my own rule about getting enough glue in the corner. So all I do is I take any scrap of paper that I have kicking around, I put a little bit of glue on it, I kind of push it under there, and then press that down and pull the paper out. And now my corner is glued down. That one I did think of on my own, or at least I think I did. Okay, and then this is going to go on top of that, and I'm pretty sure this is actually cherry cobbler, which was not necessarily what I was going for, but it just doesn't matter. And it looks like the size is right. Okay. The other side's pretty too, but it was a little too busy. Okay, now the other side is a shiny side. It's metallic in spots and it's shiny. And the glue works just fine, but it could take a little bit longer to dry, which means it could be a little slick for a couple of minutes instead of drying right away because it's not going to soak in to the paper as quickly as it would into a more porous paper. So that's just sort of a little heads up if you use shiny paper. Okay, and then this is where all of these coffee cups come in. All right, so I did the same thing with these coffee cups that I showed you that I did on this one. I stamped the coffee cup on pieces of DSP and then just cut out this part. So again, this is all old paper that I literally just found scraps of, and I was just going to kind of go red, green, red, green, red, green, and put them on here, kind of all different directions and kind of wonky. We should probably glue the, what is that stuff called? The whipped cream. We should probably glue that on first. And I also think for that one, I want to do some stamping. Let me get a piece of scrap paper. I think for that one I want to put some sprinkles on them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coffee cups, and I think I see 6 whipped creams. So there you go. There's my whipped cream that can go on the inside of that other cup. I'm sure I did that on purpose. Yeah, you never know. Maybe I did it on purpose. Okay, so we're going to take that stamp again, and I don't know, green sprinkles, are green sprinkles okay? They're not gross? Because then I could put red sprinkles on the green cups and green sprinkles on the red cups. Or am I overthinking that too? Maybe I'm overthinking it. Let's get that where you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so red sprinkles, green cups. I'm going to have to get out a green ink pad though because I didn't take one out. All right, so then I have one more that gets red sprinkles. Okay, and then I should probably grab my garden green ink pad, which I thought I had out the other day. Okay, garden green. I'm going to cheat and just clean it off this way. Maybe not. Let's do it right. The photopolymer stamps will stain with anything that has red in it. It can even be a color that doesn't look like red, but if it has red in it, it will stain the stamps, and so it's always best to clean them off as soon as you can. It's not a problem. You can still see through them and see what you're doing. But if you were to just keep using them and not cleaning them, it could be a problem, because then it might get much darker and it would be hard to see. The whole purpose of the photopolymer stamps is that you can see through them to do certain things that you cannot do with a cling stamp. And you do know that the cling stamps are going away, right? I know I've been telling you that, but I never know each time who's watching and whether they've heard it yet or not. So it was just getting very difficult to find the rubber. And I actually heard something the other day about tire manufacturing and some other businesses that use rubber. I don't know. Rubber comes from the rubber tree, right? And that's not just in a movie or a song. So I don't know about that, like what that's all about. Is there a rubber tree shortage, or I don't know. I don't get the memos about stuff like that. Okay, so now we're just going to match these up. And just like I did before, we're going to put a thin bead of glue at the very top of the cup. It looked like it wasn't coming out, but it was. Okay. So that's just something I do if I've got the glue kind of thicker than I wanted it to be. I just sort of spread it out with something. So there's one. And there's another one. Okay. They're so cute. I love little things like this, like things that look like little miniature things. I have a kind of a new friend. I met her through the art gallery. She's a stained glass artist, but one of her, it's either her daughter or her granddaughter, makes these like miniature houses with such detail and things in them. I'm just totally amazed by the stuff that she does. Just totally amazed. And they work on the stuff together. All right, so now I'm just going to grab my tape, because I always do feel a little bit better with something like that when I put a piece of tape on the back, just to make sure it's not going anywhere, because it's really just a very thin bead that's holding it together. Okay, shoo. Now, Oh, so this is what I was just going to show you. So that's what I did. I stamped it on a piece of DSP and then only cut off that part. That was just kind of a little thing for you to see. So in case you couldn't picture what I was talking about. Sometimes I can picture what other people are talking about, and sometimes it's just like they're speaking a foreign language, and it's not their fault. It's just me, you know what I mean? So I just thought I'll try to make it a little bit more clear for people. All right, so these I think should get popped up too. Or we could do a thing where some were up and some were down. That might be a good idea, actually. So like if this one goes up, then this one will get glued down, and then this one will come up, and this one will go down. So the red ones are going to be up, and the green ones are going to be down. Okay. And then, like I said, I don't want them to be straight, and I don't even care if they're overlapping at some point. We've got the sentiment. So instead of saying Merry Christmas, although at any time I could put Merry Christmas on the inside. So instead of saying Merry Christmas on the outside, I'm just saying hot cocoa season. And it could just be a, hey friend, you know, I haven't seen you in a while and I miss you, how are you doing kind of card. But then if you wanted to turn it into a Christmas card, you easily could do that. So that's what I like about a lot of our stamp sets, and sometimes it's my mindset. You know, I just tell myself this doesn't have to be a Christmas card. I mean, obviously, if it's got, you know, a stamp of a creche or something like that, well, then yes, it probably needs to be a Christmas card. But and we always have several religious Christmas card sets because there are people who only send that kind of card. I have a customer who only sends that kind of card, so that's the kind of thing that she buys every year. Okay, so we're going to put that one on a little wonky going this way. And then this one is going to get glued down. Okay, and I'll put that down just a little bit lower maybe. And then somewhere in there I wanted to stick this just for the heck of it. This is just one of our ephemera elements. Maybe, you know what, I'm actually thinking, I was thinking of gluing these on like in separate places, but now I'm wondering if I shouldn't put them together and glue them on like that. And then have the little branch, pine bough, whatever it is, go behind it. I think that might be a good idea. Who knows? Okay, so maybe this one goes this way. All right, then that leaves these two. So how about, this is what I think I want to do. I'm going to, well, wait, I gotta think this through. If one's up and one's down, is that gonna matter? If it says hot cocoa here and season here, or would it stick out more if it was sort of in the middle? I've got red underneath. I don't know if it really matters. I think this might be an overthinking situation, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop overthinking. All right, so I'm gonna glue them together. I can't believe how well they fit together, because I cut these by hand. Did I? Oh, no, maybe I didn't. I used the little trimmer. I lied. Okay. And then this can get, I can't pick up anything tonight. What's the story? This could get a little piece of tape on the back just for safety's sake as well. And then, so the way this is going to have to work, because this one's getting glued down. Okay, I'm glad I'm thinking. I used to tell my students that I wasn't being facetious. I love it when you think, because sometimes they really stopped and took their time and thought about something. And I would, you know, just jokingly say, I love it when you think, because when you think, good things come out, you know? I'm going to move that a little bit further away. All right, and then because this one is popped up, glue is going to go here and dimensionals are going to go here so that they will be the same height. So we'll have two dimensionals over the, or under, behind the words. And then glue over here. right, so look at that. So half of that's getting covered up anyway. And a good part of that's getting covered up, but that's okay, because, I don't know. I think it's okay. I might have moved it up further, but you know, that ship has sailed, so we won't be doing that. All right, and green, red gets popped up. I think it's cute no matter what. And looking at this card, and if you have this set or if you buy this set, remember it's last chance. So, although I have to say, when they used to have the retirement lists, they reduced the prices of some things noticeably. This time, with the last chance list and no retired list, I don't feel like they're reducing things quite as much. But if you're a demonstrator, or if you become a demonstrator, then you're going to get your 20% off. So it's kind of like getting a reduction, but when they're on sale, you still get your discount. So that's kind of cool. All right, so then this one, I think maybe I'll put that one going out too, to kind of match the other red one. That's really adorable. Okay, I like it. You know, I didn't buy this set at first. I think I bought it when it carried over, and then I started playing with it and regretted that I didn't buy it earlier, because when you don't buy it earlier, you know, you don't get to do as much with it. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do with the inside is I'm going to cut out one of these. I won't bother doing that on camera, but you'll see it when I take the pictures and post them. I have been trying to post my pictures on Wednesday nights because I have a group that I belong to that I go to on Thursday mornings, and I hate to miss it. However, what I've been finding is that when I stay up to do this, because I haven't eaten dinner yet, I eat dinner, I play with the cats a little bit so they don't hate me because I'm really busy and haven't been paying enough attention to them. I'm usually up till at least 1 in the morning, and then I have to get up at 7 in the morning, and that doesn't make me a happy camper. But we kind of have to decide what we want to do in life, right? And going to this group makes me happy, so. All right, so we have these now, and I'm thinking I've got to find a place to put them where they're going to be visible. So certainly not on that background paper. These come in 3 sizes. So there's definitely a small, a medium, and a large. All right, I'm even thinking they might look good. Because now that I bought so many of them, I have to use them, right? I'm sure we'll use them in cards for classes. Well, what I could do is, instead of putting it on, now I'm kind of wishing they came in green too. Although you don't really think of green when you think of peppermint, do you? Okay, I'm going to put a medium-sized one on this one right here, kind of in the middle, because that'll stick out there, that'll show. And then I'm going to put a small one over here. And then another small one maybe over here, but up on top. Or maybe we could, you know, sprinkle them on with the sprinkles, like there's some kind of a, you know, a sprinkle, a peppermint candy sprinkle. I don't know. Just put a couple there. You're always supposed to use odd numbers, you know, but I don't always follow the rules. Supposedly things in odd numbers and things that are in like a triangular configuration draw your eye out more. I just don't know. So that's 4. So if we want to stick with the odd number thingamajigger, I'll put 1 up here. Okay? But I'd like to find a card to put them on where they're really going to stand out a lot. These, because I get asked about these sometimes, these are the Avery L stamp pouches. I don't know what they're called. Avery L is the brand. Stamp pouches, bags, envelopes, I don't know. And I just buy one size, and it seems like all of the embellishments fit in them, and then I don't have to worry about pulling open that pack all the time, and I like them a lot. So I use those, and I get those on Amazon. All right, so we will go ahead and glue in the lining, and then we will be done. Yeah, I'm way over time tonight. I don't know, maybe I'm just not capable. I used to do videos that were 30 minutes, and I felt like I was rushing, and a couple of people told me that I was talking too fast, that I was rushing, and they didn't get what I was doing. So I started going back to slightly longer, but then I tried to keep it to an hour, and tonight, and this is a problem I kind of continuously have, a card that I think is basically simple in my head. When I start to make it, I realize it's not. Now, if I made a sample, first, and I know a lot of demonstrators do that, but the problem is I have hundreds of cards, and I do sell some, and I certainly do send some, and I give some away, but I have hundreds. So if I made a sample every time I made cards, then on a 3-card night, I'm making 6 cards, and I'm just adding them to the hundreds I already have. So that's why I don't make a sample. I may sketch something out ahead of time. I think about it in my head, and I think I know how long it's going to take, but, I'm just not always right. So I made this narrow kind of on purpose because I just like this color having the background. And it's a big card, so, there's plenty of room for writing in. And if I put this in, it'll be over here in the corner, and there's still plenty of room for writing. So I don't think that's an issue. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got here. And like I said, I'll try to get these pictures posted tonight, and I'll try to get the video transferred over to YouTube tonight. All right. Not enough room here. Okay, there we go. I can't, let me see, I want to make sure we're in camera here. So now, see, there's no way to get it all in camera without moving the camera up. And people said when the camera was up further, it wasn't as easy for them to see what I was doing. So anyway, card number 1, all coffee cups, and just says hot cocoa season. Card number 2, birthday, well, that was actually 3, birthday, happy birthday card with donuts. And then this one is definitely all about fall and all about pumpkins, for sure. All right, so this would be a great card for someone who has a fall birthday. My daughter-in-law has a fall birthday. This would make a great, and I think she likes pumpkin spice stuff, but I can't swear to it. So anyway, so there's the 3 cards, and I'll get them posted for you to see as soon as I can. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, whether it's tonight or on the replay, and I'll catch you next Wednesday. All right, take care. Have a great week.